everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to today's video, which is my March reading wrap up. Yes, look at this stack. It's definitely bigger than February's. Yeah, normally I can't do this because normally I read too many books to hold them up. But here we go. Here's my stack of books for March. So let's get into what I read and give you my thoughts and opinions. I will, of course, not be giving you synopses. You know why if you've been watching any of my reading wrap-ups previously. I give all synopses for books in my Bookgammon TBR. The only exception to that rule is if I go off TBR and I read something else. And actually, now I think about it, I didn't do a March TBR, did I? No, because that didn't happen because I was ill. So I filmed it. I filmed March TBR, my March Bookgammon, but I didn't edit it. You didn't get to see that fine piece of artwork that I created. No, so I will have to give you synopses for these books. So scratch my normal scheduling, programming, because this video I am going to be giving you synopses because I'm going to need to. Oh, let's never speak about March 2023 again, please. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first book I read, I've got these all out of order. This is going to throw me off. Okay, so the first book I read was this, Book Love by Debbie Tung. Now, I actually got 2 copies of this. God bless them. This was on my wish list and I got this from 2 separate people for my birthday. So I don't know not Waterstones, for once not Waterstones. I don't know what Amazon were playing at, but 2 people bought me the same copy. So thank you so much to Charlotte and to Jessica. I will be passing on my extra copy to probably the local library or something, or to a local charity shop so somebody else can book love, have some book love. This is just a graphic novel. It says, bookworms rejoice. These charming comics capture I'll start that again because that was a lot of C's. These charming comics capture exactly what it feels like to be head over heels for hardcovers and paperbacks and ebooks and bookstores and libraries. It's just basically a comic book, all about loving books. It is so cute and adorable, and you know, you feel seen as a reader. This was written by a reader, definitely, because there are some things in here you're like, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, that's me. I'm only going to have a look 20 books later, you know, sort of thing. And yeah, definitely see you're seen in this. So my notes on this says, cute picture book for book lovers, felt seen, because, you know, it's pretty much me in a comic book form. So the keywords is great artwork, book lovers, quick read. Literally this was so quick that I got to the last page, no word of a lie, and I read the last page. So I was here, and then I was reading this last page, and then I turned over and I went, oh, that's the end. There was no inclination that we were at the end of the story. Nothing to say we were coming to the end. And I was literally so, like, into the story that I just, we're at the end now, are we? Yeah. I'm told I wasn't the only one who did that. Somebody else at my book club said they did the same. So, I mean, it only got 3 stars because, let's face it, it's not much of a story. It's just basically comic strips about being a book lover and the stupid things we get up to because we love books. But it was fun. It was good. And you know what? It's not a book that I would probably reread, but it's a book that I would keep because it's about loving books and, you know. So yeah, so I will be passing on my extra copy, as I say, but I will be keeping one of them. So that's that one. The next book I read, I actually read as a buddy read with two of the lovely ladies from my Waterstones book club that I go to every month. And every time we meet up for book club, we're always asking each other, what are you reading? What have you been reading? You know, what do you intend to read for the rest of the month? And we all said that we were interested in reading this book pretty soon. And as we all owned it, we decided to buddy read it. So I read The Book Eaters by Suni Dean. So that is that. And the synopsis on this says, hidden across England and Scotland live 6 old book-eater families. The last of their lines, they exist on the fringes of society and subsist on a diet of stories and legends. Children are rare and their numbers have dwindled, so when Devon Fairweather's second child is born, a dreaded mind-eater, a perversion of her own kind who consumes not stories, but the minds and souls of humans, she flees before he can be turned into a weapon for the family or worse. This is a story of escape, a mother's savage devotion, and a queer love that will electrify readers looking for something beguiling, thrilling, strange, and new. Now, I do believe that this is a standalone fantasy, which is very rare in fantasy genre. But I kind of feel like the author has very cleverly and conveniently left it open for a possible sequence. It's not noted on Goodreads or any book selling websites that this is the first book in a duology or fly or a series or anything. But the ending of this, the ending of this says it could be. There could be another one. But at the moment it is a standalone. So my notes say interesting characters, dual timelines, which didn't always make sense. No sequel as yet. Not sure if I would read it though. It is, the keywords for this is that it is less than 350 pages. So not only is it a standalone, but it's a short one. Mother's love and monsters, and not generally in the way that you imagine monsters to be. It was a very interesting read, a book that really makes you think about what really makes a monster. Are monsters born or made? You know, actually I have another book called Monsters Born or Made. Born and Made, something like that. Anyway, so that'll be interesting to read as well. So yeah, and of course this is the Waterstones, so it had bonus content. So yeah, really pretty edition as well with the black edges. Yeah, interesting. This one I gave 3 stars. Did I tell you I gave Book Love 3 stars? I can't remember if I did, but I gave Book Love 3 stars. Okay, on to the next one. I read a really short, very short poetry book. This is Please Mrs. Butler by Alan Alberg. This was a childhood favourite. I loved this story, this set of poems when I was a kid. So when I saw this in a bookshop, I snapped it up because, like, it's my childhood. Yeah. My childhood was a long time ago. And it shows. So my notes on this says, childhood poetry book which I don't think has aged well. Kids today won't relate. So keywords for this is nostalgia, less than 100 pages, quick read. Because that is pretty much what it is. This is the only selling point for this book now is nostalgia. Kids today, I don't think will take anything from this. Now, I might be wrong in that. There may be kids today that read this and think that is so much fun. But I don't think that that's where the market for this book is. I think this is being bought by people like me who go, I remember that book, and they're buying it. And maybe they read it, maybe they don't, maybe they just keep it on their shelves for, you know, memorabilia, nostalgia kind of feels. But yeah, this just doesn't even... Yeah, I don't think in today's standards that this book really hits the mark. I only gave it 2 stars. I think that for children today, living in today's world, there are much better books out there for them. So this is really just for the oldies like me who remember it from school, basically. Next book. Oh, okay, so the next book. If you've watched my February reading wrap up, which you should do because I'll be posting it just before this one, you will know that I finished the Musai series by E.J. Mello, the third and final book being Symphony for a Deadly Throne. And when I posted that on Instagram and I tagged E.J. Mello, the author, in it, E.J. Mello actually responded to my post and said something like, "Oh, I hope you enjoy it." And I was so excited, so excited. Within a week of that happening, I got a message from someone, and it was an author who was asking extremely politely, really well written, sort of inquiring message on my Instagram to say, "Hey, I'm an author, I've written this book, it's due out at the end of March." I think it was due out at the end of March. I know it's available now to read on ebook form. I don't know if it's on Kindle Unlimited. I'll have to check that for you and put it up on the screen whether it is or not. Would you be interested in reading it? It is a mashup story of Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, and it's called Cinderbeast. I went on to the author's Instagram page, checked them out. I looked up the synopsis for this book and I messaged her back saying, absolutely, send me the link. Send me the link. Absolutely, definitely want to read this book. Because I don't mind authors messaging me to say, "Hey, I have a book, would you be interested?" I don't mind them doing that because they have to self-publicize their own books, self-promote them. But if somebody comes across too pushy, I'm very much about customer service. If you're pushing me aggressively, my answer is no. I don't care what you've done. It's no. If you're aggressive and trying to push something at me, absolutely not. No way. But if you come to me, politely, calmly, if you would like to read this, then please do. Then absolutely, I would love to read, what you have written and hopefully help by leaving a good review for you. So I read Cinderbeast by, now let me get the name right, Lilith K. Duat. I will put it on the screen for you. Guys, I freaking loved it. I loved this book. I do believe it's only available as an ebook at the moment, at the last time I checked. But if this comes out as a physical copy, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be picking a copy up because this was good. This was very good. So my notes on this say, Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast mashup, smut and monsters versus beasts. There were some errors in the e-arc, which hopefully they will fix before publishing. She did say that there may be some errors on the e-arc, but not to worry about those. But yeah, and she said if you could leave a review for me on Amazon, that would be great. So I did. I left, I think I left one on Amazon and one on Goodreads, I think. Or at least, no, I couldn't leave one on Amazon because it hadn't been published. So I do have to, that reminds me, I have to go back on to Amazon. So the key words for this is smut, good, quick read, and PTSD. So do be aware that there is some post-traumatic stress disorder sort of in this book. So the character does have some PTSD symptoms. But it was only just over 200 pages, so it's not a very long book. But absolutely, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so good. And I'm definitely going to be looking at this author's back category. And I'm now following the author on Amazon. So if she does come out with anything new in the future, I will get a notification and I am going to be snapping those books up because it was bloody good. It was really good. By the way, I gave Cinder Beast 4 stars. There were, as I say, there were a couple of errors. That's not really their fault, but I think for me it lost the point because it was only 212 pages. I wanted more. It was so good. I just wanted more of that goodness. So yeah. But Give Me a Reason was the next book I read, and this was written by A.L. Jackson. Okay, so the synopsis for Give Me a Reason, which is book 1 in the Redemption Hill series by A.L. Jackson. It says, single dad, enemies to lovers, standalone romance about a jaded club owner and his son's teacher. Now it does say standalone romance, but it is part of a series. But as with most contemporary romances like this, each book does stand alone, but within the series it follows kind of similar characters or characters who maybe know each other, maybe they're brothers or friends or something like that. But each story is a standalone, but it kind of somehow connects to the other books in the series. Do you know what I mean? But you can read them on their own. Eden Murphy came into the club looking to make some extra cash. A girl like her doesn't belong in a place like this. And there's nothing but sweetness dripping from her sexy little body. And I'm the monster who's salivating to get a taste. Yes, that's pretty much the flavour of that book. Spicy. So yeah, my notes on this say, bad boy hires good girl in his club only to find out she's his son's kindergarten teacher. Great plot, danger and smut. Would love to read the rest of the trilogy and more by this author. So the keywords are bad boy, good girl, dark past and family. Yeah, absolutely loved this one. Gave it a 4 stars. This run of contemporary smutty romance really has helped me get me back on my track with my reading, because I was literally at this point just consuming all the smut. And smut is good, especially when you're in a reading slump. So yeah, that was that one. And then the next book I read was another e-arc. Guess what? It was another contemporary romance, and this was Unforeseen Love by L.S. Pullen, and it is the Love in Lockdown Chronicles. Yes, this is a ebook or a story set in the UK during lockdown. Yeah. You knew they were coming. We knew they were coming. So the synopsis for this one is, Sienna Morgan is no stranger to death and grief. Becoming an embalmer might not be everyone's chosen profession, but it's the only place she truly feels in control. An introvert by nature, working and living above a funeral home suits her down to a T. Until Theodore walks through the door. And she realises her arch nemesis from uni is about to be her new boss. So yeah, it goes on from there. Again, it's not a very long ebook. It was only 216 pages, but she's trapped in lockdown with her arch nemesis from uni, and he's her new boss. I mean, I think you can imagine where the story goes. So my notes on this says, Mortician's new boss is the boy who teased her at uni, and now he's her new flatmate during lockdown. More smut than plot, but I'm not complaining. Keywords, less than 250 pages, good smut, lockdown in the UK. Pretty much everything I just said. So yeah, that got 4 stars from me as well. All 3 of those ebooks, 4 stars. I was in a good mood. Really boosted my want to read mood back up. So you know what? I know a lot of people look down on smutty books and things like that. But I was in a reading slump, and the only thing that got me back into the mood to read was smutty ebooks. So don't knock it till you try it. Next on my reading list, we're back to the physical books now, was Guild. The Plated Prisoner series, book 1 by Raven Kennedy. This one is a really fluffy one. I like fluffy ones. I was excited about this. I'd heard some good reviews on this, and so I went in this with very high expectations that were sadly not met. My notes on this say, the first half interesting plot and intro to characters. The second half, more violent, non-consensual sex and brutal attacks, made me less inclined to continue the series. So the keywords are trigger warnings, over 18 years old only, and I think it does actually say, there is a bit in the front, let me find it, that does say this in the front. So there is a massive trigger warning in the front. Please note, this series will contain explicit content and dark elements that may be triggering to some. It will include explicit romance, mature language, violence, non-consensual sex, and emotional manipulation. It is not intended for anyone under 18 years of age. This is book 1 in a series. So it does give you that warning. So I have heard a lot of reviews about it, but I don't remember anybody mentioning the trigger warnings for it. So I went in this thinking, oh well, that'll be okay, it'll be fine. I was disturbed. I was seriously disturbed. So yeah, this one got just 3 stars from me because, to be honest, I would have given it 2 stars, but the beginning of the book did save it that little, just a little bit. I did enjoy the first half of it, and there was one point where I slammed the book shut. I was about to throw it across the room, and then I thought, nope, I'm going to message my friends. And I messaged a couple of people, have you read this book? So if you are one of those friends that got that message from me, that is the point where I was about to launch the book across the room, because I did not like what happened in it. And if I do continue this series, it will simply be to find out what happens to somebody. I won't say who, but you know. So it did only get 3 stars from me. The next book, the next 2 books I decided to read were both mangas. So the first one I read was Millennium Snow Volume 2. This is basically a manga about a vampire who refuses to drink blood, and a girl who has a heart health issue, which means that she could die at any moment. Now in this, with this world, or this imagining, when the vampire feeds from a human, he gives her some of his immortality and helps her to live longer. So she wants him to feed on her so she can live longer, but he doesn't want to drink human blood. So that's the concept of this. Now my notes on this says, took a while for me to get into it, not interested in the plot, only gonna read number 3 because I own it. The keywords for this are vampires and werewolves, ghosts, love story, old friends and new friends rivalry. So yeah, it did take me because it's been quite a while since I read volume 1. I think I read it last year or something. And to be honest, it's the problem I have with manga is that everybody looks the same. And I can never tell who's who. So somebody will be speaking and I'm like, who are they? What are they? So it takes me a while to get back into it. I didn't have that problem with Death Note. I don't know why. But with this one, I just can't seem to differentiate between the two guys. Because one is a vampire and one is a werewolf. And I can't differentiate. And then there was another man come on the scene. And I'm like, who are you? And to be honest, some of the guys have longer hair than some of the girls. So I think they're a girl and they're not. They're a man. And I get a little confused. So yeah, I will read number 3, but only because I have it. So that one got a measly 2 stars, unfortunately. And then next, I read number 8 in the Assassination Classroom. I was on a roll at reading one of these every month, and then I got bored because they were all pretty much samey after a while. So I've been on a break for a few months, and I decided to get back to and continue with number 8 of Assassination Classroom. This is about an octopus type alien who has threatened to blow up Earth if class 3E, which are the rejects class of the school, cannot assassinate him in time. And he is basically teaching them. He's their teacher and he is teaching them to assassinate him. But he keeps defeating them. This story goes on to they're trying to do something else. They're not trying to assassinate him in this one. So it was a little different to all the others. So kind of wish I'd carried on now because this would have been a nice change. But my notes say this one was quick to get back into the storyline, easy to pick up. The kids were outsmarting trained assassins this time. So this time they weren't trying to kill the teacher. They were trying to outsmart other assassins. The keywords for this are assassins, quick thinking, and kids beating the bad guys. So yeah, I do like this series, but to be honest, they are kind of like a 3-star kind of series to me. Again, this was 3 stars. Nothing to write home about. Not like Death Note, which really got me intrigued, really got me into thinking. But I am interested in carrying on. I have up to volume 11, so I only have, 9, 10 and 11 to go of the ones that I own. Will I continue after that? I don't know. If I can find the rest of the series pretty relatively cheaply, I might. Or if I can borrow them from anywhere, the library or something, I might. But I wouldn't be mad if I got to volume 11 and stopped, because it's nothing to write home about, and it's just same old every volume. So yeah. And then last but not least, my Waterstones book club pick for March was The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. Not a floppy one. This one is not a floppy one. We like floppy ones. Anyway, that's what she said. So the synopsis for this one, let's give you the synopsis first. I keep forgetting that I have to give you synopses this time. A deserted lighthouse. Upon the cliffs of a remote Scottish island stands a lighthouse. Strange and terrible events have happened here. It started with a witch hunt. Now, centuries later, islanders are vanishing. Liv Stay and her children don't believe in witches or curses, but within months of arriving on the island, her daughter Luna is the only one of them left. 20 years later, Luna's missing sister turns up out of the blue. She's exactly the girl Luna remembers. Same face, same smile, same age. 20 years later. Faced with the impossible, it's up to Luna to find out what really happened at the lighthouse all those years ago. This was intriguing. Definitely. I queried what genre to put this under, because I didn't know whether this was fantasy, thriller, historical fiction. When we asked the bookseller at Waterstones, he said that they have been told to catalogue it under horror. Me and my friend at the book club kind of looked at each other and went, really? No, it's not horror. It's not horror. Not in any sense. Thriller, suspense, maybe, possibly. Historical fiction with a bit of a thriller sort of suspense thing. I don't know, but it's definitely not horror. My notes on this says different timelines telling the same story. I'll let you try and work that one out. Wish it had a bit more history to go with it, but glad I read it. The key words for this is time, family, and stories. Yes, this book plays with the concept of time. So if you like a good timey-wimey kind of story, bit of Doctor Who there for you, you may enjoy this book because it's pretty good. And if any of my close friends, I'm thinking of you, Charlotte, are interested in this book, let me know and I will send it to you if I remember. You know what I'm like sending books. I'm awful. I'm goddamn awful. So that one got a 3 stars because it just didn't hit the 4-star mark. So that is the reading wrap up for March. So let's go through the point system for each book. So Book Love got me 10 points. The Book Eaters got me 5. Big hitters, these books. Please Mrs. Butler got me 10 points. Cinder Beast got me 40 points. Give Me a Reason gave me 40 points. Unforeseen Love gave me 40 points. Guild, after I put myself through that, got me 0 points. Don't you just love it when that happens? Millennium Snow got me 35 points. Assassin's Classroom got me 35 points as well. And The Lighthouse Witches got me 70 points, which brings me to a grand total of 285 points, which means I have a book allowance of 1 for April. That's not going to happen. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about with these points, I do have a points system to help me curb my book buying sprees that I have been on in the past. The book system that I use was created by one of my lovely subscribers called Karen, and I asked if I could use her system, and she said yes. I have done a video on it and it should be linked in the description box below the video, so please do check that video out if you're at all interested by what I'm talking about with the point system. So those were all the points. So mad that Gil gave me 0. I try and make it so that every book gives me something, even if it's only 5 points. But that one just it hit nothing. It gave me, I got 5 points for it being a fantasy, but then I was minus 5 points because it was the first book in a new series. So, and then it didn't hit anything else in the categories. So, damn shame. Anyway, so let's get on to the statistics. So the total books I read was 10. That was twice as much as what I read in February. I only read 5 in February, 10 in March. So reading is shooting up because of those ebooks. The physical pages I read was 1,311. The ebook pages I read was 846. I think that is the highest number of ebook pages I've read in 1 month since starting to take statistics. So I'll have to check on that, but I do think that is the highest number of ebook pages I've read in 1 month, and I'm not mad about it. The audio hours of books that I own was 10 hours and 13 minutes, and I think that was for, what was that for again? Listen to The Lighthouse Witches on audio because I was struggling. and I did not borrow any audiobooks this month in the month of March. My ratings, I had no 5 stars. I had 4 3 stars, 5 3 stars. Did I say that the right way around? I had 0 5 stars, 3 4 stars, 5 3 stars, 2 2 stars. There was no 1 stars and no DNFs. My genres read: 1 was a thriller, 2 were contemporary, none were classic or non-fiction. There was 1 middle grade, there was 3 manga graphic novels and 3 fantasy sci-fis. Fantasy, let's call them fantasies. The origins of the books that I read, 3 were borrowed and 7 were owned. So the 3 that were borrowed were the ebooks. The format of the books I read, 6 were read physically, 3 were read ebookly, and 1 was read audibly. The bindings of the books, 2 were hardback and 5 were paperback. Then the genders of the authors, 3 were male and 7 were female. So moving on to the last bit of statistics. The longest book I read was Give Me a Reason, which was an ebook length of 418 pages. The shortest one was, of course, Please Mrs. Butler, at just 93 pages. I'll keep holding this one up for the oldest book, which was Please Mrs. Butler, which was originally published in August 1984. When I was still, I was 4 years old. I was a few months before my 5th birthday when this came out. Yeah, nostalgia. And the newest book is obviously Cinder Beast, which is due to be published in April of 2023. The highest rated on Goodreads was, surprisingly, Assassination Classroom number 8. Now this may be, as I've mentioned before in some of these videos, it may be because if you are carrying on a series as far as book number 8, you're doing it because you love it. So it's not going to have a lot of low scores. And this on Goodreads at time of taking the information was 4.41 on Goodreads. The lowest, surprisingly, because this got so popular that it was actually originally indie published, and it got so popular on BookTube and BookTok and TikTok, that's the one I'm thinking of, that it got picked up by one of the big publishing companies. It's Guild. Guild was the lowest rated on Goodreads with a 3.64 rating. Now that's still a pretty good rating, let's be honest about it. But this was popular. This is popular. I've heard loads of people like shouting about this book, how great it is, how wonderful it is. And it was the lowest rated out of all of these books. And I read some ebooks, like smutty contemporary romance ebooks, and they still were not the lowest rated. I was shocked. When I say my jaw dropped, my jaw dropped. So my least favourite book was Please Mrs. Butler. It was the only 2 stars that I had, and to be fair, the only thing this book has going for it is the nostalgia. That's all it is. Will I keep it? Yes, it's not taking up that much room on my shelves, let's be honest. But I think it will have, I might make one of the very small spaces on my bookshelves. You know how I have those short ones in the middle of the bigger bookcases? I might put this on one of those shelves as like a nostalgia kind of book collection, and this would go with that, because yeah, That's the only thing it has going for it. And my most favourite book of the month was Cinder Beast. So yes, if you get a chance to pick up Cinder Beast anytime soon, then yeah, I highly recommend it. It was such a great mashup of the two stories. And honestly, Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, the way that the author was able to bring the two stories together without making it feel like it was forced, I loved it. I definitely would love to see more from this author. Absolutely. And as I say, if this was physically published, you know, into an actual printed book, I would definitely be ordering a copy. So yes, loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, and the cover for it is gorgeous as well. I would put a picture up for you, but I'm not great with technology. So this is all you're gonna get. So yeah, so that is my March reading wrap up. Are there any books that I have spoken about today that you're thinking, you know what, you've talked me into it, you've twisted me arm, I'm gonna go order it now. Or you're gonna go pick it up off your bookshelves, because like me, the books have been sat on your bookshelves for ages and you just haven't got around to reading them. Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Let's have a chit chat about books. I love books. So I haven't spoken about books in ages. I feel like I've been neglecting this side of my channel for a while. It's been all about the makeup recently. So yeah, when you're in a reading slump, it's very hard to get excited about books and book buying, because you just don't want to think about it. So anyway, that is my reading wrap up for March. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.